Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RV show. My name is Vinay.
And my name is Rohan. Before we get on to our first story for today, I just want to tell everyone to stay tuned because at the end of our show today, we're introducing a brand new segment. So, on to our first story. On Wednesday, we saw the first and only vice presidential debate of this year. And it was a historical night as Kamala Harris became the first Black woman and first South Asian woman to participate in a debate of a general election. Um, it was better than the presidential debate, but there was still a lot more that we wanted to hear. There were a couple of important issues where both Kamala Harris and Mike Pence sparred on. The first was the coronavirus. Kamala called the Trump administration's job of handling the virus, quote, the greatest failure of any presidential administration in history, while Pence tried to poorly back up the administration's successes. The second issue was the Supreme Court. Both candidates went back and forth on healthcare and the packing of the Supreme Court. Yet Kamala had trouble answering some questions about packing the Supreme Court, um, and Pence had a lot of trouble answering questions about Trump's healthcare plan. The third issue was the economy. Harris tried to prove her point about economic growth coming from the Obama administration, whereas Pence pushed the job creation under Trump. And finally, climate change and the environment. And this is where Kamala continuously denied claims that she and Biden would end fracking, which became a pretty big deal. And all Pence could really say on this issue was the climate is changing. Um, However, the most important, most memorable moment of the debate was when a fly landed on Pence's head and stayed there for a bit. That fly, Vinay, is my greatest takeaway from the debate. So I guess what was your greatest takeaway? Specifically about like the platforms of each candidate, and more specifically, do you think anyone won the debate?
As for my greatest takeaway, all I can really say is that Pence wasn't really well prepared in how to defend the Trump administration's previous actions. Like every time that I forget the moderator's name, every time that the moderator asked Pence about results of the Trump administration during its first 4 years, he really never had a proper response for that and always seemed to go off on a different tangent. So for me, it just showed that he wasn't really well prepared in that regard. However, I do think that he did enough where he kept on talking for a good amount of time. So I don't think he necessarily lost the debate because of that, but didn't feel like he did as well as he could have.
Yeah, I guess the way I look at it is there's some there's some issues where like kind of like Kamala won and some issues where Pence won. So specifically, I think Kamala Harris won the coronavirus issue. I think she pushed Pence pretty well there. But I think simply like Pence on every issue just had more talking time. And the moderator, in my opinion, did a very poor job of regulating when he got to speak. Which is why, like, even after Kamala asked for equal speaking time, like at the end of the debate, you could tell that Pence got far more speaking time because he always went over his time. I think like one issue where Pence won was definitely the Supreme Court because I don't think Kamala pushed him hard enough on Trump's healthcare policy, which Pence did not answer the question at all. Rather, he deflected to Kamala and Biden packing the court. And Pence did a pretty good job there because he like made it clear. He was like he's told the audience, "Hey, I just want to put it on the record. She never answered my question about packing the court because she is." And I kind of saw like kind of Trump do this to Biden, where it's like they're like kind of dictating the Democrats like platforms, and so Kamala and Biden aren't being they're not being vocal enough, and they're not
being
like
assertive enough about their points, in my opinion.
they're letting like Trump and Pence like tell them what their platform is, which they shouldn't be able to do. So they got to be like more vocal of it. The economy was kind of a wash. It seemed like climate change was also kind of a wash because Kamala and Biden kind of got mixed in with the new Green New Deal there, which kind of angers a lot of moderate voters. Even though like their plan is not really the Green New Deal, but it's pretty similar. Like I think like, one of the main differences is that they can actually implement it soon, whereas the Green New Deal will take some time. I think I have to do more research on that though.
Yeah.
Were there any specific issues, Vinay, that you think like could have been addressed more in the debate?
Well, I feel like, I mean, I don't blame Pence for doing this, but he was really avoiding answering just how the administration failed to handle the coronavirus. Like, I understand because there wasn't much success that he kept on having to deflect it, but I really felt like he could have given a better explanations and given more comfort to the American people about what would happen if he and Trump are elected during the next election.
Definitely. Um, I think that Kamala could have done a better job on the economy. In reality, it like so like Pence talked about like her or talked about Trump's job production
Mhm.
um and how Biden is gonna like outsource jobs and stuff. And I think like one like big issue that like Kamala didn't really target was that like if the Trump administration like loses this year, they're gonna be like one of like the first I think the first administration to ever come out with a negative job production. So like
Hmm.
his job production wasn't all that good. Like his numbers
Yeah.
weren't even before coronavirus. His numbers weren't even like higher than like past presidents. Um,
Hmm.
and I think like Kamala didn't stress enough that like um, Obama and Biden brought the U.S. out of one of the biggest recessions in history.
Hmm.
And a lot of like the economic growth that Trump was seeing at the beginning of his term were just like from Obama's administration. But I think Pence did a pretty good job of holding that up, and I'm very surprised that he won that point. But yeah,
Hmm. Um, so I guess the last question is that now that we know that the second presidential debate isn't going to happen, how do you think about how the performances of both the president and vice president and how that could impact the result of the next election?
yeah. So I think so. I was watching someone I think on CNN say this, and obviously like they're left leaning, and they said like they don't even think this was before they canceled the second debate. They were saying that they don't think Biden should like even go up for another debate with Trump because they didn't think that he needed it. Um, and I found it interesting to hear that because like looking at the past elections, especially at like Hillary versus Trump last year, like
Mm-hmm.
Hillary was leading in the polls by a lot, like equivalent to what Biden is leading with right now,
Mm-hmm.
at around this time, and she still lost. So the polls feel very, very unreliable. I
Yeah.
just don't really trust like that I can choose who is going to win right now, despite Biden winning. I think he has a
Mm-hmm.
pretty good grip on some of like the important battleground states. Like he has a pretty good grip on Arizona, which could be like an important. It could be an important state. Uh, I really don't know as of right now. I think they're going to do the third presidential debate. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think that either candidate really put themselves forward or behind in terms of the result of the election. Like I know most of the polls are like heavily favoring Biden, but we saw a really similar thing with Hillary last year, and obviously the result didn't go her way. So I think that both candidates could benefit from another debate. But I guess as for CNN saying that Biden might not want to do another one, I think Trump will likely come much more well prepared to the next debate, and Biden like clearly struggled whenever Trump kept on interrupting him. So I think if the American public were to see Biden struggling once again, that could probably hurt his chances of winning. So I guess I do kind of agree with CNN's point that a next presidential debate would be detrimental to Biden.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think it also shows something that you're kind of like not going to the debate. Um,
Mhm.
and obviously I feel like Trump isn't like So like the reason why he declined to do the debate was because it was going to be online and Biden didn't want to like endanger his health, which is like a very valid like argument. And kind of Trump thought it was ludicrous. Um, I think if it were coming from Biden, like as in like Biden saying, "I'm not going to do this debate," it's gonna look like pretty bad. Which is why I didn't agree with them at the time, right? But now I would like because Trump already said, like, I'm not going to do the debate, right? It's fine. But at that time, it would have been Biden saying, I'm not going to get on the stage with Trump.
I see what you're saying. So I guess obviously we'll see the result of the election. Um, okay, so now on to our next segment. This will be named the W segment. So this will be a new segment that we're going to be introducing weekly. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be presenting different news articles from around the world, and then we're going to be rating each article on a scale from weird to wacky, or wacky to wonderful, where it's just going to be we have to give an adjective describing the article, starting with the letter W. So I guess today I'll be the host and Rohan can be giving the ratings. So I guess the first article that we'll start off with is the Ig Nobel Science Award, where an where a human decided that since helium, when a human inhales it then tries to speak, is makes a human speak really weirdly, they tried to test this on an alligator. So Rohan, what would you describe the experiment as a whole, just like the idea of the experiment?
Okay, so to clarify that story, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they got the Ig Nobel Science Award for testing or for like giving an alligator some helium.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You know, I would give that story a witty. That was a witty story. I think so. The reason why I think it's witty
Mm-hmm.
is because they like thought of something that like obviously like the Ig Nobel Science Award is like not is like supposed to be like a joke, kind of like more like
Yeah.
funnier scientific creations. But I think like they thought of like kind of like a unique like kind of research thing, like how
Mm-hmm.
different like animals sound with like on helium, um, and how it affects their immune systems in different ways,
Mm-hmm. I think it actually seemed like a genuine thing that I kind of wanted to know after the like idea of the experiment was given out. It's just not one of those things that you think about, but once you think about it, it's like, oh, that's actually a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
So I guess the second one is that in a Belgian city, they found its former mayor's heart in a fountain. So for years, this was just an urban myth that there is the heart of a former mayor buried under a fountain. But then diggers moved in and found that it was actually true. So how would you rate this story?
Whoa. Damn, that story's weird, Vinay.
Yeah.
They buried their former mayor's heart under a fountain.
And then they
Dude, that's
found it
that's
like
weird. That's weird.
years later.
Yeah, that's who was digging there also to find the heart.
No, this was just like an urban myth. It's one of those like legends, as you would
So
say.
why were no?
And then
Why were they
someone decided
digging
to
in the?
test
Well,
it.
no, but like, why were they digging under the fountain in the first place? Were they trying to find a heart?
No, they were trying to find it because this was something that it was like a rumor spreading around for years and years and years.
Wow,
It's that now they actually decided to like
interesting.
look at
Okay,
this. Mayor actually died in 1839, and that's when the heart was buried under the fountain. And now in 2020, they found the heart.
dang, yeah, that's weird. I'm giving that a weird.
I guess this next one, it's kind of a uplifting story. So this family, they kept on using the same lottery numbers each and every day at the same lottery place. And after 25 years of using the same exact lottery numbers, he finally won the lottery and he earned a jackpot of nearly $6.4 million. So how would you rate this story?
6.4. Damn,
Exactly.
that's persistence right there.
Mhm.
Same number. Oh, okay. So that story. That story is a winner.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a winner. That story's a winner. I think like I feel like we've heard stories about like people using like the same lottery number, but 6.4 is like a lot of money. Like that's crazy. That's pretty
Mhm.
cool. Maybe I need to start doing that. Like my like lucky number. Something
Well,
like
you're
that.
still a minor right now, but maybe later you can start doing that. So our next story is that a Pennsylvania man never got his high school diploma, but now, just weeks before his 100th birthday, he finally received that high school diploma. So what do you think about this one?
Vinay, that's wholesome.
Yeah.
You know, like to have the kind of like the work ethic to like you like grow up and finally get your high school diploma at the end of your life, you know, when you've probably made your money, you don't really need it. At that point, you know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, wholesome.
So final one is that there's a teenager in Tennessee, and he made a homemade fusion reactor, and he did this just at the age of 13, just hours before his 13th birthday. So he made the Guinness Book of World Records for this achievement. What do you think about this one?
Can you explain the what he made again?
Yeah, so he was able to build his own nuclear fusion reactor at
Nuclear
home.
fusion reactor. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, Vinay, I'm giving that a wealthy because that
Wealthy.
kid is gonna be making some money in the future, man.
Yeah.
A nuclear fusion reactor. Oh my gosh. And he's gonna be making some money.
Yeah, he probably will. Okay, so that ends the W segment for this week. We'll come back with the W segment and some more upcoming news stories next week.
Well, I think that's it for the RV show this week. Make sure you guys stay watching the news. Keep up with the election. We have to see if the third presidential debate is going to happen or not, and that's going to be interesting. And we're only about three weeks away from the election, so get excited about that.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
What's up, everyone? Rohan here from the RV show. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to stay updated on all of our new content. Also, if you are looking for past episodes, check out our YouTube playlist.